On this episode of The Hunt for Amazing Treasures, the hurricane of 1715 scattered Spanish treasures along Florida's coast.
The trail of gold coins was only 50 feet wide and it went for almost half a mile. It was very, very difficult.
And a Roman hoard of coins and jewelry discovered in a farm field in England.
There this little box sat for 1,600 years about 2 feet under the ground waiting for somebody to find it.
Amazing Treasures, narrated by Mark Hamill.
The Atlantic Ocean along Florida's eastern coast is a wild and untamed beast. Calm and tropical one moment, ugly and violent the next. In July of 1715, a hurricane tore through these waters, sinking a fleet of 12 Spanish treasure galleons. Bob Marks, a noted historian and treasure hunter, has been studying these wrecks for over 30 years.
Here we are at Sebastian Inlet, the center of where the 1715 disaster took place. The 12 homeward-bound Spanish galleons had left Havana 5 days earlier, and on the last day of July 1715, they were hit by a dreadful hurricane, and all 12 ships were lost.
The lost galleons of the doomed 1715 fleet lie just offshore in an area of Florida called the Treasure Coast. Out here, below this crystal blue water, are scattered hundreds of millions of dollars in gold, silver, jewels, and artifacts. A treasure that can be traced back over 250 years directly to a king in debt and an empire in the balance.
His Majesty wishes.
In 1712, with wars raging on many fronts, King Philip V of Spain was in great need of money and issued this order demanding that the treasure fleet set sail immediately. The Spanish flotillas were at the mercy of the wind and weather. If they sailed too late in the hurricane season, it was usually catastrophic. At sunrise on July 24th, despite worsening conditions, a fleet of 12 ships were forced to set sail from Cuba's Havana harbor. Their hulls and stern castles packed full of treasure. On the morning of the 6th day, as they were making their way up the Florida coast, the sky turned black. Their luck had run out. The fleet was hit full on by a hurricane with winds estimated to be in excess of 130 miles per hour. 2 days later, when the winds had died down and the ocean had stopped churning, all 12 ships were gone. 3 of them went down in deep water. The rest were slammed into Florida's coastline between what are now the towns of Stuart and St. Augustine, leaving the king's treasures scattered through miles of sand.
Most of the people drowned. There were some survivors. Basically, when these ships broke up, they got scattered all over the place. That hurricane moved a lot of the wood and different things and cargo. So this wreck extends for 4 miles along the coast. The interesting one is Douglas Beach wreck. It was the smallest ship of the fleet and supposedly didn't have any treasure on it. In modern times, it has produced more gold than the other ones all combined. So literally 20 to 25,000 gold coins was found on a ship that had nothing on the manifest, not to mention about 50,000 silver coins. So you never could believe those Spaniards are what the documents say, because everybody was in the smuggling business.
The treasures of the 1715 fleet lay untouched off the coast of Florida until 1955, when a building contractor named Kip Wagner started finding oddly shaped shells in the sands around St. Augustine.
At first, he didn't know what they were. He would throw them out and skip them across the water because he thought they were a type of seashells. Basically, a piece of 8 looks just like this before you clean it. The silver turns to sulfite, and until it's clean, it doesn't look like silver. So one day he scraped and went and discovered it was silver. Then he realized, hey, there's money out there.
Kip Wagner did some quick research, and it changed his life. Kip assembled a treasure hunting company he called Reel 8, which became the first team of professional, full-time treasure divers.
Some days they could come out here just with snorkel equipment, imagine, and garden rakes, and rake in the coins. Occasionally you'd see something on the bottom, and a couple of times they went down and they found clumps this big of solid silver coins, and of course struggled to get them to the top.
Over the years, Reel 8 divers have made some amazing finds and attracted the best treasure divers in the business. Those who have teamed with Reel 8? Mel Fisher, who found the richest Spanish galleon ever, the Atocha. Mo Molinar, who has pulled millions off the ocean floor. And Bob Marks, who found the second richest galleon, the Maravilla. These men created a legacy and blazed a trail to the 1715 fleet's vault for other treasure hunters to dive into. Divers like Chris James, who went on to find these magnificent jewel-encrusted brooches.
I was swimming along at the edge of the reef, and I heard this really faint signal and just started digging away, and all of a sudden the sand just unpeeled away, and now this gold thing came out, and I yelled so loud you could hear me out of the water. This piece here has 170 diamonds in it, and this one has 144.
This one-of-a-kind set of jewels has been valued at $2.5 million. Another fortunate diver who has kept the legacy alive is John Brandon.
I've been working on the 1715 fleet associated with Mel Fisher for about 26 years now. And I started out on the 1715 fleet when I was 16 years old diving with Mel, so I've brought up considerable amounts of material.
These are just a few of the gold and silver coins, jewelry, and artifacts that he's pulled off the wrecks of the 1715 fleet. All told, worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It's definitely very exciting when you find these things, particularly when you see the gold items. The gold shines forever. It just takes your breath away. Also, when you first pick the things up, it always runs in the back of your mind of the last people to have touched these things, what the thoughts must have been going through their mind when the vessel was breaking up around them, when probably a day or so before they were wealthy, they were rich, they were on top of the world, and yet they would have given all of these things to get out of the predicament that they were in. They would have gladly sacrificed all this wealth to be on dry land and not be on that vessel that was breaking up. So all of these things kind of go through you.
Wow, look at that. Hey guys, you see this?
Yeah.
Man, what a find.
Harold Holden is another diver who's been working the 1715 wrecks. Two of his favorite pieces are this gold locket with 10 feet of braided gold chain worth $850,000. And this intricate set of golden filigree doors, a frame that once held a small painting of a loved one or a religious scene. The frame has been valued at $1.5 million. But it was Harold's discovery of this gold sword hilt in 1987 that led to an even more astounding discovery.
That in itself was the key, because the guy that owned that had to either be the captain of the ship or a very wealthy passenger, and there should be some gold coins or jewelry or both.
Following this clue, Harold, John Brandon, and Mo Molinar set out together and soon found themselves on a trail of gold coins.
The trail of gold coins that we followed was only 50 feet wide, and it went for almost half a mile. It was very, very difficult to follow. You'd find just one or two things here, and you'd dig for a couple days and find nothing. It's a very tedious process to try and track these wrecks. Basically what we try to do is discern a debris field. Within that debris field, we try to record enough accurate data to allow us to find dispersal patterns within the debris field. These dispersal patterns might lead you on a trail, which most salvors will say, well, we're following a trail. But the trail might end. It might go another 100 yards and start again. Or it might go 2 or 3 miles and start again. That's what makes it so complicated. It's a very, very big ocean out there. If it was easy, everybody'd be out there doing it.
This time, luck was with them, and it was about to pay off.
About noon that day, John was talking on the radio, and he'd found quite a number of gold coins, about
34
34
coins.
gold coins.
Yeah.
And Mo came by in his little skiff, and he says, "Come on, get in the boat." His divers have dug up dozens and dozens of gold coins, and they put them in the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket.
Boy, he flat had some coins. He had a bunch of happy crew members. A lot of happy divers.
Are you ready for this? All right. Beautiful. Here's all right.
Great day for all of us.
Yep.
We all worked together, and it worked out real good for everybody.
In the spirit of the old Reel 8 treasure hunters, these divers pooled together and hit a vein of gold on the ocean floor. The total take, 800 gold coins valued at $2.5 million.
If we wouldn't have worked cooperatively between the 3 boats, I don't think anyone would have ever found it, or if it would have been found, it would have taken many, many years because the trail was so narrow and so thin.
Total reason for the success of all of us is keeping good records and exchanging information and working together cooperatively. It pays off for everybody. There's more jewelry out there and more coins, and they'll be finding it out there for many, many years to come.
To date, we've only found 6 of these wrecks, so the treasure is still out here.
The ghosts of the 1715 fleet still live just off the beaches of southern Florida. Millions of dollars more of the king's treasure waiting to be found.
Next, $3 million worth of Roman coins found in a farm field.
It was a typical autumn day in the small English village of Hoxton in 1992. Farmer Eric Laws was looking for a hammer that had fallen from the tractor earlier that day and gotten lost in the loose plow soil. Laws headed out to the spot where he thought the hammer should be. Within moments, he got a hit from the metal detector. He stooped down to brush the soil away. No hammer. Picking through the dirt, he found a coin about the size of his thumbnail. Not a modern British coin, but a pure silver one, almost 1,600 years old. A relic from a time when Great Britain was a mere outpost of the greatest empire in the world, Rome.
Julius Caesar came and had a look in 55 BC and fought some battles, and then under Claudius, the Romans came back 43 AD and took Britain over as part of the Roman Empire.
For 3.5 centuries, the Romans ruled Britain. The rich farmland of what's now East Anglia attracted wealthy landowners who oversaw their vast estates from palatial villas. Today, those villas have crumbled away, but every now and then, a reminder of those times appears from the earth.
Just about every parish in East Anglia has got Roman finds from it. There are coins, or there are bits of pottery. There were people living very densely populated all over this part of England.
Eric Laws dug deeper and found a second coin, and a third. The deeper he dug, the more coins poured from the earth, hundreds of them, some gold. There were silver spoons and gold bracelets. Laws knew Roman hoards had been found in this part of England. Realizing the importance of his discovery, he stopped digging, carefully placed the treasures he had already unearthed into the trunk of his car, and went inside to call the proper authorities. Within hours, archaeologist Jude Pluvier received an urgent phone call.
The call came from my colleague in Ipswich. We have archaeologists at both ends of the county. And my colleague John phoned me from Ipswich saying the land agents who deal with the county's farmland had contacted him and said there seemed to be something really good turned up at Hoxton. And he said, meet you in a farmyard just south of Hoxton in an hour's time. I think the oh my God came when I saw the stuff in the back of Eric's car, the most amazing collection of Roman silver spoons and gold jewellery and coins. I looked and I thought, it's real. It really is a late Roman hoard. And then I got even more excited because I realised, talking to Eric, that this wasn't everything. There was still something left in the ground, so that we could actually locate it and have a look at where it came from, which is very, very unusual. It was very exciting to know that we could actually look at these objects in a proper context. So we went out there and we laid out a rectangle around his small hole, and we took the plough soil, the disturbed soil on the top, off with shovels in this rectangle fairly quickly. And then as we got down and we came to the undisturbed subsoil, we started to find quite a lot of coins and some objects all in one tight area.
From the compact arrangement of the treasures and from the 2 small hinges found with them, Pluvier surmised the collection once lay in a wooden box, now completely decomposed.
Basically, the box was about so wide, so deep, so rectangular, and really quite shallow. I don't think it was more than about 9 inches deep. Almost like a drawer, a wooden drawer. Could perhaps have been something like that. And yes, it was almost completely filled with objects. The gold bracelets, which we took out in sort of two, 3 handfuls, we could see, even though they were still covered in earth, that they were extremely fine, very beautiful objects. So at that point, I think, yes, we went, oh.
They dug well into the night, until they were certain they had found all that was there. Then they rushed the treasure to the British Museum in London and entrusted it to archaeologist Catherine Johns and her colleagues.
When it was brought to us, it wasn't possible at that stage to see exactly what the treasure consisted of. We had certain objects could be seen, but there were other groups of things which Jude Pluvier had excavated in large blocks, context blocks. So they were boxes full of earth that still had objects in them. So at the beginning, we didn't actually know exactly what was there. We knew that it was a very large treasure, and we knew that there was a huge number of coins, which meant that we had a really good chance of putting a close date on the time when the treasure was hidden. The other thing that was enormously important to us, and still is the fact that most of the treasure had been professionally excavated by Jude, and therefore we had proper archaeological records of it, because usually when people find treasures, they get very excited and they just carry on and take everything out of the ground. Now, Mr. Laws is a very calm, rational individual, and he didn't do that. He alerted the authorities so that we could have this proper excavation.
Not until the hoard was taken to the lab to be separated, cleaned, and documented did its astounding size become clear.
There was no way we had any concept of the number of coins. We were guessing, I was guessing about 5,000 coins. In practice, it was almost 15,000.
In all, there were over 14,875 coins. 569 were gold, 24 bronze, the rest silver.
They were not the sort of things you were carrying around as small change, no. They would have been the sort of thing you were buying houses, land, paying taxes with.
You couldn't just take it out and spend it in a shop. It was big coins of high value.
Before this discovery, the largest number of coins found anywhere in the once vast Roman Empire was a mere 3,000, 1/5 the size of the Hoxton hoard. But Laws had found more than coins. There were gold bracelets and jewelry and several complete sets of silver spoons.
Up until the finding of Hoxton, there were a total of about 80 silver spoons of the 4th century known from Britain, from various finds. The Hoxton treasure produced another 78, so roughly doubled the number. We have matching spoons with gilded animal decoration on, of the larger type, and of the other long-handled type, the smaller spoon, which is called a cochlear. I think this one is my favourite silver item from the treasure. She really is rather smashing. She is a handle from a silver vase. She looks like just a decorative object that you might put on the table, but in fact she's a little pepper pot. Roman gold jewellery is usually of very high purity, much higher than we consider necessary these days. This is the bracelet found inside the large armlet, and the person who had this was called Juliana. Yule, L-I-A-N-E.
I've been an archaeologist for 25 odd years, and it's the most dramatic thing I've ever found. A wonderful array of objects.
How it had been stacked into this little box that it had lain in just under the ground for 1600 years, all through the passage of history and all the great things that have happened in this country since. The Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings and the Norman conquest and the monasteries and Cardinal Wolsey and Henry VIII and goodness knows what. There, this little box sat for 1600 years, about 2 feet under the ground, waiting for somebody to find it.
We can say that that whole treasure was placed in the ground not before AD 407, because there are 2 coins from those 15,000 which give us that date.
We think they were buried because they were in a hurry to leave.
Much of the Roman Empire was under great pressure. There was a lot of political instability, there were people invading from the east.
Just as well not to take a very large amount of very precious metal with you, because you might get murdered for it on the way.
And now, 1,600 years later, who would this treasure belong to? According to Britain's centuries-old treasure trove law, ancient hoards of precious metals found in England automatically belong to the state. But the finder is given a reward equal to the treasure's market value. Just how much would Mr. Laws get for the hammer he never did find? The whole country watched the drama unfold.
A priceless collection of Roman coins and jewels.
The treasure will now be valued by a committee, and Mr. Laws will then be offered the market value.
It was valued for legal purposes at £1.75 million sterling.
The equivalent of nearly $3 million US.
Are you going to celebrate?
Well, I haven't decided yet, actually.
Eric,
No celebration.
Do you wish you were perhaps a little younger, so when the money did come...
I certainly do.
Yet Law's find isn't the end of the story.
What's missing from the Hoxton treasure is a large quantity of the solid silver tableware. At Mildenhall in West Suffolk, a fantastic treasure was found in about 1941, the so-called Mildenhall dish. An example of the kind of quality of work which would have been possibly on the table at Hoxton as well.
If you've got something like 78 spoons, what we don't have in that treasure is any of the large silver tableware, the big salvers, dishes and plates and so on, which we have other examples of from Britain, and they were probably buried somewhere else, separately.
Rome wasn't built in a day, and its treasures still wait to be unearthed another day by another lucky prospector who stumbles upon a fortune he wasn't even looking for.
We'll be right back with the hunt for amazing treasures.